And I am live here most every Tuesday around about 11 a.m. Sydney time, Australian Eastern Daylight Time that is, talking all things leadershipisation. I'm over the moon today. I'm really excited because I'm joined by my guest. It's the first guest for our leadershipisation series, and this is Christiano Green. Cristiano is coming to us all the way from gorgeous Bali. I've chosen Cristiano to be our guest because he's had almost 20 years experience as a leader in a broad range of roles in the corporate world. And his experience is across teams of different sizes. So he's worked with teams of 5 to 10 people, but he's also led teams of over 300 people. And Cristiano has this belief that leadership really starts at home. And I love this perspective, which we'll delve into a little bit more, which is that being a leader is a title that only you can give yourself. So, really interesting. Welcome, Cristiano, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Beth, for having me today. I know you said I've got 20 years of experience, and I know I don't look a day over 20, so I was born a leader. But no, you're showing my age there, Beth, but thank you for having me here.
But you said I could say that. You
I
said
know I did.
you
I
gave
know.
me permission.
I'm joking.
So first up, Cristiano, what does leadership mean to you?
So what does leadership mean to me? So I think you kind of touched a little bit on it when you gave me the introduction, when you were talking about how I said, leadership is a title that only you can give yourself. Now, probably most of us are thinking, what does that mean? Like, I lead a big team at work. They gave me the title. But normally what I would say to that is that when you're in a position in a working environment, you're giving a title of a manager, right? You have a responsibility to look after a specific department or a group of people or a project, right? And you're managing those things there. That's your outcome at work, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to go a little bit deeper, what do I think a leader is? It's someone who walks the walk and talks the talk at the same time. So you believe that in that position that you have been given authority, that you don't take it for granted, that you know that you are there and that you have other people who look up to you, who are looking for
Yeah.
guidance. Maybe that's in the workplace, but also it could be further than that, right? When I was, a leader within, like I said, for over 20 years, I had a range of different people from all over the world. And I realized quite early on in my journey as a leader that if I was just going to manage people, then it was all about just this one thing here, this one task and whatnot. And I was probably never going to be focused on it was going to be like, okay, I'm in this position, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. Whereas what I like to look at is like, okay, if I get to know these people, if I get to understand them on a deeper level, inside and out, on an emotional level, on how they operate, then I can best serve them and I can also best get the work done as well. So when I say being a leader is something your title you give to yourself, it's because for me, being a leader was more than the job that I had. It was a way of life. It was how I saw, inspiring other people and kind of giving back to them as well. So really looking at it from a perspective of a higher level of these aren't just my team, these are my people. And I think that's a big difference there.
Yeah, and I really like that quite clearly defining that managing is different from leading. That managing, it might simply be just about directing the individual to be doing that job at a certain time or sitting at this desk or connecting with these people, whereas leadership is actually about knowing and understanding and helping to bring out the best traits or the best aspects of what they can do. And then also, I really like that perspective of it goes out there into other areas of your life. So it becomes a way of being rather than a way of doing in the workplace. Yeah.
Correct. And the thing that I like the most about that is when you're doing that and you're living it, you inspire your team to live it as well.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of, I ran a team, and a lot of people that I had were in the Philippines. Now,
Yep.
the way that they were used to being led
Mm.
was with a bit of a whip. You do this,
Yep.
this is your job, you do this, these are your numbers you're expected to have, and that's it. If you don't hit those numbers, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Whereas I kind of realized that, like, you know, there's a lot of gray areas in work in general, but also, like, I don't want people to be focused on just numbers. I want quality work as well, because when you just focus people on numbers, you can statisticalize. That's a new word that I've added right here. Statisticalize anything to make it look like you've hit those numbers, right? Yeah, I did get this many emails done. I did do this. And when you know how to work the system, you work the system. But if you come from a different approach where, it comes down to, like I said, leading, they get inspired to work. They're inspired by the mission of what you're holding on to. So if you're really a part of that company, and you're really part of the mission that that company has, and you live that, that breeds down to those people. And so they want to work even harder to get that goal, because they believe in the mission as well.
I get it. I love it. So obviously, when you were leading large teams of people, there would have been quite a number in amongst that group, Cristiano, who were perhaps aspiring leaders. And as you said, you want them to be looking up to you and respecting you. So when you reflect on that, what are two traits or characteristics that you believe aspiring leaders would really benefit from developing?
Two traits that aspiring leaders would benefit from developing. I'm going to say the first is adaptability.
Yeah.
Because when you are a leader, and you're within an organization, like, for example, the position that I was in was, I ran a big department. I ran the biggest department in the company, which was customer service and sales for an online e-commerce business, right, in
Hmm.
Australia. So you're working with your department, but you're working with other departments. But then you also have, the CEO and the people above you that you have to work with. So you have to lead, left, right, up, down,
Yep.
right? So in those situations, you have to be adaptable to different situations, different personalities, and know when it is your chance to shine, and to speak and to lead, but also when it is your responsibility to also follow someone else's guidance as well. So adaptability means that you can go into any situation and kind of understand it and get a sense of where you are and how
Yep.
you should be ebbing and flowing. And that's kind of one of the things that I would say has got me so far in my leadership journey when I was working in corporate, was I was just adaptable to so many different situations that kind of helped me to really navigate my journey as a leader, and also help other people to do that. So I always felt like it was important to teach adaptability as a skill set. Now, again, if you were looking at it from a corporate world, people wouldn't say teach people adaptability, because people wouldn't think, not necessarily to
Mm.
think that that's an important skill set to learn.
Yeah.
But it was something that was in my journey that I felt was important to share with people below as well.
So it's kind of like reading the room, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
And yeah. But I'm interested because you wouldn't want someone to be so much like a chameleon and adapt themselves so much that they actually shifted to being a people pleaser, would you?
totally
However,
right. Yeah, no, it's not about being a people pleaser. It's about, as you said, reading the room and kind of understanding, like, it is, what's your position there? Where am I? Like, if I'm in my room, in the room where I'm leading my team leaders and the senior team leaders that I have in my department, I know
yeah,
I've got to be coming in and have this kind of a face on, where I step in and I'm leading that meeting. I'm leading and organizing it, but I'm also giving everyone else a chance to bring their skill set and their perspective into it. But for
yeah,
example, if I'm going into a meeting with, say, 4 other departments, we're on a project together. I have to also come in there with a different mindset. It's like, okay, I'm here. I need to understand what everyone else's perspective is on this project, so that
hmm,
we can get it done together and collaborate. And again,
yeah,
if I'm going to a level with, say, all the CEO and all those people there, I'm in from a different perspective. So I'm not coming in to please, but I'm also knowing my space in that room and adapting myself
yeah,
to that situation,
yeah,
so that, again, I don't walk in with this one hat on every single time. Because if I'm trying to be a leader in every room, it's not going to go well for me, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I love that. So that's one trait. One trait is adaptability for aspiring leaders. What's a second one that you think it would be awesome for them to look to develop?
This one here is something that I think is important for anyone in life. And I guess if you have this, I believe you are an aspiring leader in life in general, whether you have that in a work position or not. And it's what I call the growth mindset. So it's the idea that, where you are and your skill set are not fixed. You have the ability to strengthen any kind of skill set that you put your mind to.
Yep.
And if you believe in that, you can see yourself as you are right now, but also know that there's a journey to get to where you want to be. So I didn't start at the top, right? We all start in positions where we're at the bottom. And to work up, we need to improve our skills, whether that's communication, whether that is in the work that we're doing, whether it is in adapting to situations, or whether it is, like I said, managing and leading people. Because again, those kinds of skill sets of leading people, that is a massive skill set to learn. So when I say growth mindset is that you are never going to be the best at something because you can always be better, but you can bring your best to a situation that you're in right now, but also know that you can improve in that as well.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. So that's that adaptability and the growth mindset. We've got a question here that's come from Sally, who's watching us live. Sally is wondering, Christiano, do you have any tips for leaders who constantly feel an overwhelm and are not showing up in the ways that would be possible with a lesser sense of overwhelm?
It's a good question there, Sally. So thanks for writing that in here. And yes, I do have some tips for that, right? Oftentimes when we get overwhelmed with, what's going on in general, like we might have 150,000 things that we think we've got to do. What I always did that I found was important was I would get a lot of that stuff out of my head first of all. So maybe I would say, look, I've got to write down on a piece of paper all the things that I've got to do here. And I might realize that there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? And however many there are is what they are. Then I would look at them and go, okay, what is the priority here? So I probably label them 1 to 20. Let's just say there's 20 of them. Then I would say, do I need to do this one? Or have I got someone in my team that can support me with this? Because it's so important to really look around you and help other people. Because the best thing I did was to not be afraid of someone taking my job or someone being better than me at a certain task in my team. Because if they were better than at me, it helped me tremendously and also helped them as well. They felt they had autonomy in that role, in that position or that skill set, and it worked. So it's really important just to, like I said, get everything out of your head, prioritize those things, see who else, see if you need to do them or someone else needs to do them. And then you'll find that there probably is only going to be a couple of things that you can do. You've managed those other things over, and then you give that, like I said, autonomy and trust to other people to get them done, so that you can, like I said, release yourself from the overwhelm. If at that point there's still overwhelm, probably what I would suggest is there's always going to be someone maybe above you that you can have a chat with and say, look, I'm really struggling here. I need some support on this. And they can help you come up with the situation. But generally, if you go for the first situation, you're going to find that the overwhelm is pretty much gone.
Yeah, awesome response. Thank you, Sally. It's a difficult place to be in or space to be in for leaders, some of whom are struggling with also feeling what's known as imposter syndrome in terms of maybe I'm not the right person to be doing this job. And when you've got that hammering in one ear and the overwhelm hammering in the other ear, pretty hard to step up there and be the leader that you know that you can be. So great question, Sally. Really appreciate you
Yeah, thank
asking
you,
that.
Sally. Yeah.
Cristiano, the next question I have is this one. So we've just talked about two attributes or two traits or characteristics, that you think aspiring leaders would benefit from gaining. Is there one thing that they might benefit, or that any leader actually might benefit from being less of?
Being less of, yeah. Well, I mean, I could think of quite a few, but if you want me to put it down to one, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit before when I was talking about to myself, I do not need to be the most skilled person in my team at everything that I do. I can have other people who can be better at me at certain things, right? Because if they are better at those things, then that takes weight off my shoulder. So I would say the trait would be something like being a manager or micromanager, or even controlling, whatever you want to put it under in that category, is if you can take away the need to control your team, the situation in general, you're going to relieve yourself from a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stress, a lot of that imposter syndrome, right? Because again, having other people shine helps you shine as well, because this is your team, right? So you want to have some star performers there, and you want them to feel like you see them and you validate them and that they're part of something, because that's what most people want, is just to feel a part of something. And if you're on a team with them and you give them that validation, you give them that acknowledgement, and you give them that praise, they're going to work again 10 times harder for you. And so you will be able to take a lot of stuff off your plate, hand it over to them, knowing that they've got this for you. And you can then focus on the things that are really, really important for you as well.
Yeah, I love that response, because it's kind of like often people think as a leader they have to be the controller. No, and I'm always talking to my corporate coaching clients about things like it's awesome to feel as though you've got an open door policy. However, if your door is so open that you never get any work done, you're actually not learning the skill of delegation. Neither are you particularly allowing your team to solve some of their problems themselves.
That's
Often
correct.
if your door is too open and you are too available to them, just reflect on whether they're coming to you more often than they need to. Okay, awesome.
Just before we move on there, I love
Yep.
that point that you made there, is because the best thing I ever did when I was like that, because I initially, I think this is something that we all go through. I did that very early on, and then I realized I was having no time, because people would come to me because, like I said, I was so helpful, I was so supportive, I could give them the answers. So how I turned that around was, whenever someone started to come to me with those things, I would always ask them, what do you think you should do? What would you think is the
Love
best
it.
option?
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
then tell me why you think that's important. Boom. And then we would talk through it, and then I would give them the answer. So almost preempting them before they come to me, that I was going to ask those questions. And half the time they were able to solve their problems for them, because they knew that I was going to ask this question. So they were asking it to themselves. And then a lot of the time people were just needing that reassurance. So this kind of gave them the yep, you know what? I'm right. I feel
You've got
confident in what
this.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I love that. That's kind of like, don't come to me with a problem, come with a solution. I have a solution for every single problem. Thank
Correct.
you for adding that in. That really added value to the conversation. So when you think back on your leadership journey, Cristiano, do you have a sliding doors moment in your leadership journey that you can share? And I'm conscious of the fact that these sliding door moments they're not always pretty. They're not always award-winning moments. So have you got one there that you can share with us? That'd be awesome.
Sliding door moment. So that's kind of when you look at something and you go, I could have gone this way or that way, and what would have happened if I did that? That's kind of what you mean by that, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Yes, I definitely do have one there. So basically, at the company that I was at before I left, and started my business and went full time into coaching and healing. I was working for, like I said, Temple & Webster, which is an online retailer in Australia for furniture and homewares. And like I said, that was where I had teams of 300 people. Now, when I first started at the role, I was actually doing my counseling degree, because I kind of had an idea that I was wanting to go in a different path. And when I was working there, I had the person who was leading the team, the department, was someone who is what I would call a controlling, managing person.
Yeah.
Literally, almost every single person in the team felt kind of what you would call bullied by this person, to the point where, people were leaving left and right. So basically, I was the only person that actually spoke up and went to HR about it. I said, you know what, I need to go and say something, because if I don't, I'm going to feel like I haven't, trusted myself with that. But so what happened was she ended up getting removed from the company, because they did a proper investigation to realize, wow, like this is bigger and deeper, and they, properly got rid of it. And after that, we were in limbo for a couple of months. We didn't have someone, and I naturally was stepping up and doing things because people would naturally come to me because they saw me as a leader. But at that point, I got offered a position to actually be a manager of a department in a brand new company that was startup. It was a friend was working there. She'd mentioned my name. They had an interview. The interview went amazingly. They were like, you come in, we want you to do whatever. We feel like you're the right person for this company. And so I was at a position where I could have, one, gone off and started into this new company, or two, stay here and just figure things out. So I initially decided that I was going to leave. I was like, you know what? There's been too much stuff that's happened here. I feel like it would be great to start fresh. So I went and I spoke to who was my leader, like the actual leader who was one of the owners of the company. And I told them, I said, this is what's been happening. This is how I feel. We had this real deep conversation. And basically they were like, you don't understand. We were literally planning to have a conversation with you next week about you stepping up as the manager of the department. So we want to, talk about that. So we had this back and forth there. And basically I had the weekend to decide what I was going to do. So as everyone knows, I stayed at Temple & Webster and I went on that journey there. And I've often sometimes think about what would have happened if I did leave and go to this other company here.
Yeah.
Luckily I didn't, because I found out that as a startup, not every startup survives. And about 6 months later, it ended up not really going anywhere. So luckily that I went into this room and I was honest with how I felt, because if I just gone in and said I'm quit and I didn't do like really be honest about it, I may not have been in this position. I may have gone off there. So basically the moral of the story was being authentic, being honest, saying your truth allows you to move forward in the direction that feels most pure and honest to you.
And I think that growth mindset is part of what it's one component of self-leadership, self-leadership. And that self-leadership journey and the growth mindset journey, it's continuous, isn't it? It's
Correct.
continuous. And, the thing that I talk to my clients about in relation to a growth mindset is that it involves reflection. But it's actually really honest reflection. It's not a matter of just reflecting and deflecting and blaming somebody over there. It's actually looking and, I'm here. What have I contributed to what's actually going on here?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that journey there, when I started at that position where they actually finally gave me the role, there was 20 people in my team. And over the next 4 years, I grew the team from 20 all the way up to 300. So I personally wouldn't have had the experience to step up into my leadership, because every time I had a new challenge, I had to really, really look within and go, how would I like to lead the situation? How do I want these people to see that? Because when you have 10 people, more eyes are on you. Then there's 20, and there's 50. You have a lot of layers when it gets to mind. And so how do you get your message from the top down to the bottom when you're not necessarily seen by the bottom people as much as those middle people?
And
so
the other thing,
bigger and deeper about myself as a leader because of that journey.
Yeah. And the way that you communicate with 5 to 10 is completely different to how you're communicating up here with your 300. And obviously, any issue that you have with 5 to 10 is multiplied the more people that you have. Yeah. Okay, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Christiano. Just how can people connect with you if they want to? What would be the best way for people? If they like you, if they're thinking, oh, okay, I think I'd like to get to know more about Christiano, where can they find you?
Awesome, Beth. Thanks for the shout out there. So so people can find me. You can search Christiano Green on Facebook. You'll find me there, and you'll see my face. I'm probably with a little yellow screen with my face on there. Or you can search on Instagram or TikTok under Christiano.coach. Or even if you put my name in, I'm sure I'm probably the only Christiano Green out there anyway. So you'll be easily able to find my name on there as well.
Have you Googled yourself? Do you know that you're the only Christiano Green out there?
I have Googled myself. I think any person out there who's been doing this for a while does want to see what people are saying about them. And
if you haven't Googled yourself by now, there's something wrong, I reckon, whether you're out there, you're in the public or not.
You're trying to hide something. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cristiano. I really appreciate you being here and spending this time with us. So, hey, everybody, thank you for those people who might be watching live. If you're watching a replay, please tag, hashtag replay underneath. And I look forward to all of your comments and any other questions that you have that might come out of the things that Cristiano and I've talked about today. In the meantime, I absolutely look forward to seeing you here again, Leadershipisation, all things leadership, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Sydney time, Australian Eastern Daylight Time.